Hello and welcome to another edition of the Dynasty Fantasy Football Central podcast. I am Michael Moore. He's Jonathan Scott. Say hello, Jonathan.
What's going on, people?
It's Friday night, so we decided we were going to Mad Men this podcast, and I don't know. I have my whiskey. What do you have?
Well, I don't have anything, but thanks for calling me out. I'll be right back.
Yeah, feel free if you want to pour yourself a drink. I can fill in time in between. But anyway. So, welcome to another edition. This is the 7th episode. We are looking at the new faces in each division, and tonight we are going to cover the AFC North. Of course, you can check out everything we have at dynastyfantasyfootballcentral.com. So, with all that said, Jonathan, I think we'll dive in, and as usual, we will go from worst to first, which means, who do we have first?
We're going straight to the meat and potatoes on this. Okay. Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
We're starting with Johnny Manziel. We don't pull any punches here. We just go straight to it. So if you download this podcast just to hear opinions about your boy Manziel, well, you're welcome. My opinion is, good God, I have no clue. I don't know. I mean, what?
No, I'm with you. I think that's probably accurate. I mean, I'll say this, and this is my personal struggle. I loved him in the beginning. I think we talked about this. I loved him. I thought he was, without a doubt, the top quarterback in this class, and I thought he was going to start, and I was very excited. The Josh Gordon thing really derailed a lot of that, for me anyway, because I think having a guy like Josh Gordon can make a decent quarterback a lot better, at least fantasy-wise. So that really hurt. And then he's not quite, for me anyway, taking the job as quickly or as definitively as I think I thought he was. Because, look, and that's not to say Brian Hoyer's great or going to make the Pro Bowl, but Brian Hoyer's okay, and Johnny Manziel is a rookie quarterback. And there's just very few rookie quarterbacks in the history of the NFL that step right in and take over. So,
okay, so hold on a second. So for one, the second point first. That's just you projecting your expectations on a situation that you know nothing about.
Well, probably.
Now, some people will have that attitude. They want their quarterback to fit a specific idea of what it should be, and that's fine. I'm not telling you can't feel that way. Just recognize what it is. It has very little to do with anything outside of he can't beat out Brian Hoyer yet when there's been no competition at all.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, okay. And let me explain that part of it. It doesn't mean long term it is bad. It just doesn't. It affects his short-term value, I think, which to me put a guy like Bridgewater ahead of him. And again, we've already covered Bridgewater. So, it's all. Look, here was the pros and the cons of Manziel.
Huge feet.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yes. He had a cannon arm. He really did. I mean, it was impressive what he did in the SEC, throwing and running. I mean, and he wasn't like a one-trick pony. I mean, he could throw it, he could run it. He was very good. The knock on him, a couple things are the size. I mean, I think that's a legitimate concern, quite honestly.
Sure.
And just the fact that we don't know yet if he'll be able to make the same kind of razzle-dazzle plays at A&M in the NFL. Because, look, he's playing against NFL defenses every week. So we're going to have to find out first if he can still do the same things in the NFL, I think. And that's nothing you can tell this early on. So
yeah, no, I can tell you right now, he won't be doing the same things in the NFL he did in college because Darwin tells me so. These are faster, stronger, bigger athletes across the board, more complicated schemes, etc. He has a good arm. I'll never say he has a cannon arm. He has a good arm when his fundamentals are set, his base is properly set, and he can drive the football. And that's not even really that deep of a discussion. You could watch his games and one throw would look like something I would throw as a weak 28-year-old, and then the next throw would be just a rope 25 yards down the field.
Right.
And you could just tell the difference. Even if you don't know the difference, you could tell the difference. And look, I think the Josh Gordon thing is way more important than anything else that we've even talked about at this point. Anything outside of Josh Gordon is just going to be confirmation biasness in hindsight, essentially. Now, Yeah, I'll throw it out there. Even the reports of him going into a bathroom and doing blow over the last weekend or whatever it was, like, you're either going to look at that and be like, yeah, that's just him being a partier and being awesome, and he's just rising to the occasion, and he's a gamer, hashtag white compliment. Or it's going to be, this guy just doesn't get it. He can never be a winner because all he wants to do is party. Like, those kind of things to me are just, I mean, yeah, don't do blow, kids. It's not great. But, like, if he can do it and still be good, then he'll always be able to do it and still be good. So, I mean,
Sure.
whatever. I'm not touching the kid, to be honest. Sorry. Like, if you guys want projections on where to take him, you've come to the wrong person. I'm so frightened by that entire situation, the division, the roster around him now, that I honestly, until we get to training camp and we exactly know how many reps he's taken, the plans with him in the offense, are they going to? The other issue is here, you have to have somebody like a Harbaugh or a Pete Carroll who is willing to cater the offense around that talent and not the other way around. These are headstrong, stubborn, egotistical coaches that don't have the ability to do that often. And if they don't, he's going to fail. There's just no way around it because he's too special of a talent.
Right. No, yeah, and I agree with all that. I think he's definitely the most polarizing rookie in a long time. So just real quick to review, where would you have him ranked amongst the quarterbacks then for this year in a rookie draft?
I don't know, below Zach Mettenberger. Like, he's going to go.
Really?
No, not really. That's more of a. Like, I don't know. I mean, I could see that just because someone falls in love with Mettenberger and that situation in Tennessee is awful. But like, he's going to go, I imagine, somewhere between the 3rd and 5th round of a dynasty draft.
I think he'll go sooner.
I'm
not saying it's for me. I'm saying I don't think he makes it out of the 2nd round.
If that happens, that's an overdraft. Sorry. And if you want to hitch your wagon to him, man, by all means, go nuts. I'm just not going to be that guy. And if someone does it, I'm not going to make fun of them because I just don't know. And if you like to take risks, if you like to be like, F it, let's just see what happens. This is your guy, man. You're going to love him. But I'm not that guy.
Yeah, I think we've come to the conclusion that we have no conclusion on him. So
that's why they pay us big money. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, but we can't spend the entire podcast on Johnny Manziel as much as we would love to. So, segue. Who else do we have on that fine Cleveland Browns roster?
An awful segue. Next is going to be Andrew Hawkins, who is an interesting guy, right? Like, so, I mean, you've seen notes around the league that he reminds people of Wes Welker a little bit. Small, shifty, really works the slot well. I find it interesting because there is nobody in Cleveland to take that role, to be honest. Devon Bess, it turns out, is like the guy has issues, he needs help, and he's off the team. Like, he's gone. And hope he finds that help. God knows he's never going to listen to this, but just for the record. And so there's somebody that can walk straight into that role, take that role. And Andrew Hawkins, if you watch Cincinnati play last year, like, the dude's got skill. He's got a lot of talent. And he's worked with a quarterback who may not have the strongest arm in the world in Andy Dalton. So he may be someone that fits, honestly. With Josh Gordon being out, these balls have to go somewhere. I could see Hawkins being a pretty good, reliable guy. I could see a lot of Manziel seeing 3rd and 11, 3rd and 13, and throwing it 7 yards to Hawkins for no reason. Yeah. Harry Douglas of last year, basically.
Right. Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with the Gordon touches having to go somewhere. And look, that's not by any means saying he's going to replicate Gordon's numbers, but there will be a fraction of that has to be redistributed. And right now, he's probably the best receiver on that team. So, depending on how they use him, hopefully they find a way to get him on the field, and not just in 3rd down situations, because I think they're going to need a lot of help.
He's going to play. Like, unless you think Travis Benjamin and Nate Burleson are,
and Miles Austin.
That depth chart.
Don't forget Miles Austin.
No, don't talk to me about Miles Austin. Don't do that.
Anyway, so I also think he's a guy that a lot of people may not. He's going to be the epitome of under the radar for dynasty leagues. Mm-hmm. I think he could be a guy that isn't kept because people don't think about it, and could be available, whether it's on a waiver wire or whatever. So I know in our league, I can't believe somebody will keep Andrew Hawkins, and we have a 16-keeper league. So that's a guy to look out for. Another guy on the offense that I failed to put on the notes, and that's my bad. Do you know who I'm thinking of?
No clue, but go nuts.
Free agent, running back.
Oh, Ben Tate, yeah.
Yeah. So, which is fairly significant.
Yeah, but I feel like it's pretty simple also. Like, this is, like, Ben Tate is who he is.
Well, let's cover the position in general, because that entire backfield is new, pretty much, right? Whether it's a rookie or free agent or whatever. So with Tate, I mean, we know what he is. He's very athletic. He can catch the ball. He's very good in pass protection. Mm-hmm. He did very well in Houston when given the opportunity. The problem was, as we all know, he couldn't stay healthy for 16 full games. That's why Arian Foster eventually won out. So, he's going to get his chance in Cleveland, but and don't get me wrong, that offensive line is amazing. I mean, they have 2 All-Pros on that line. So it's not like he's not going to get the opportunity, but at the same time, just like we just talked about, with no Josh Gordon there's going to be a lot of attention on Tate, and it would concern me that, they're going to be zoning in on him and beating him up pretty much. What do you think?
That doesn't bother me. I mean, so 2 things. I would challenge the healthy thing. I mean, his rookie year he played 15 games. Last year he played 14. 2012 he did play 11. Like, I understand he gets hurt a lot, but he also plays through that quite a bit, to be honest. The interesting thing here, I didn't know this until I looked it up. How old do you think he is?
Well, you just said his rookie year in 2010 or 2011, so I'm going to say 25.
25, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's young. He was never the guy in college. He split carries in college. He split carries in Houston. He's going to be fresh. He's going to be a guy who is a guaranteed starter on a team that, although they may suck, like, that's okay. And, I think he just kind of is what he is. He's going to average like 4.2 to 4.4 yards a carry. He'll catch 20 to 25 balls maybe. He'll get maybe 4 to 8 touchdowns. There's no way to figure that out definitively. It's random, but I think in that offense he can be a functional piece that reaches maybe 1,000 yards for the season, and that you start, especially if you have a flex role that you need to have somewhere. But in good matchups, I would have no problem starting him as a running back too every other week or so.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think it's a young enough team where he could have some real long-term potential there. I mean, he only signed a 2-year deal, so it's not as if he's contractually obligated to stay there. But like you said, he's only 25. It's a young team there in Cleveland. I mean, they have young players at each position. So, would you say top 20 running back?
Yeah, probably. Just strictly because, like, who else is there? Like,
right. He's one of the few left where you can definitively say he's the starter and he's going to get most of the carries. Another guy that was getting a lot of attention in that backfield was Terrance West, a rookie who, by everything I've read, sort of reminds people of an Alfred Morris type, where he's not really good at one thing or anything except the one cut, where he does that very well. And Cleveland is shifting to a zone blocking scheme, which, hey, that's what Alfred Morris has done very well in the last couple of years. So, I think there's some validity there with him. I think, especially if you've got Ben Tate, getting a guy like Wes is going to be extremely valuable. But my concern with a guy like Wes is somebody's going to overdraft him in rookie drafts. Like, I can totally see somebody reaching like mid-second for him, assuming he's going to beat Tate out at some point, which I don't see it in the mid-second with him in a rookie draft, especially not this one.
No, I don't either. And if they do that, God bless them. Let them do it.
I mean, look, if you got Ben Tate and, you have a second-round pick that's hopefully later in the second, go nuts. Then you've got the Cleveland running back situation on lockdown. But yeah, I don't buy the hype around him that, oh, he's going to challenge Tate and all this stuff.
I don't either.
All right. I think we switched to the defensive side with Cleveland and Mr. Karlos Dansby, who, by the way, had quite the season last year. I think it was like 120 tackles. I think it was 6 sacks, 4 interceptions, and like 19 passes defended, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And look, linebackers are meant to do very well in Cleveland. They've got Mike Pettine as a coach now, who in Buffalo did very well with linebackers there. I mean, with Kiko Alonso especially. So, I mean, Dansby's 32. He's not a young guy by any means. But especially in IDP leagues where it's so random, to have a guy like that who I think is fairly reliable. I mean, he's had a ton of 100-tackle seasons. I don't have a problem with Dansby as my, LB1 or LB2, quite honestly.
No, I would agree with that. I'd be careful of linebackers in their early to mid-30s. Like when it falls off, it's going to fall off. There's no way to know when it's going to happen. So this is a bit of self-prophecy to say when he does fall off. See, I told you. But I think for right now he looked plenty athletic last year. He played all 16 games, I believe. He's going to be really good for that team. He's going to produce. He's going to be somebody that you probably rent on a year-to-year basis in Dynasty. Like if you had him for a year and then decided, all right, I can't keep him and let him go, I wouldn't blame you for that. But then you could also draft him the next year again, and knowing you're going to get someone like dependable and reliable. I mean, he's just so damn good, man. I don't know what else to say. I respect the hell out of the dude. He's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah, and like we've talked about before with other positions, me personally am pretty conservative, and I would much rather have a guy like that who I know has done it before but may not have a long shelf life over some guy getting a lot of hype because his ceiling's really high. I personally, I just like to play it safe and would go with Dansby on that. But that's just me. Anyway, I think that's probably enough Cleveland fun for now. Who do we have next?
They're Baltimore Ravens.
An interesting team all the way around. I think they're always interesting to me.
All right, sure. If you followed our Twitter handle, you saw a heated debate this week about the merits of a one Dennis Pitta. We won't go there quite yet, but
you will all rue the day. I guarantee it.
He's awful. Anyway. So we'll stick with defense right now. C.J. Mosley, star linebacker at Alabama. I think. I mean, he's going to start day one. He's going to start in the defense that needs him at a position from day one. So I think there's a really good reason to draft him within the second and third round of drafts, especially if you need middle linebacker help. He characterizes as a guy who's going to start from day one because of the things he's good at. Recognition, smarts, angles. He knows how to stay healthy. I know that sounds ridiculous, but the ability to stay healthy and play middle linebacker is so huge, and they're going to appreciate that from day one. I don't know that he's physically everything that everyone says he is, but I don't think they care. And I think he's going to be the highest producing linebacker out of this rookie class.
Yeah, I think, everything you said was spot on. He's more a guy, it's not like he has super athleticism or physicality. I mean, I think we'll get to that with Ryan Shazier next. But, Mosley's a smart guy. I really think he'll get out of that whole Alabama, stigma that people have with anyone drafted by them. So, and look, Daryl Smith, the linebacker that went there last year after Jacksonville, he's 32. So, and given we just got done talking about a 32-year-old linebacker in Cleveland, but the bottom line is 32-year-old linebackers, like you said, are not going to last very long. So that's going to be Mosley's job for the next 5 to 10 years. And for those dynasty drafters that are all about upside and just taking the best player available, Ozzie Newsome has got to be your hero. So because look, I mean, I don't know any mock draft that had the Ravens taking Mosley before the draft. I don't think anyone saw that. So, but I give credit to Newsome. I mean, it was universally celebrated after he did it. So I say all that to say, I think he'll be very good. I think he'll be a very reliable linebacker 1 or 2 for whoever you get. And look, depending on your situation, if it's late first even for a guy like that, I can't really fault you for that. I wouldn't fault it in our league if somebody went 110 or 111 and drafted Mosley. Would you?
No, not at all. I mean, I drafted Alonso last year at the 111 spot, and it paid off in spades. So.
Well, that worked out. I mean, This season aside, that worked out. So.
Yep. No, totally agree. Uh, I love having a clean prospect. It's a clean guy that everyone agrees on. It's nice.
Yeah.
Um,
It doesn't happen often, so.
no, not at all. Not at all. God, I wish we could break off Gary Kubiak as his own free agent pickup. That'd be great. But we'll start.
And look, we can. This is our show. Who gives a shit? Let's go.
Because I still want to love you afterwards. I don't want to hate you. Stick with players for right now. If it morphs into Gary Kubiak, whatever. But Steve Smith, do you think this guy has anything left? Is there any reason in Dynasty Leagues to draft him? He's going to be available. No one's keeping him, I don't imagine.
No.
If you are, don't. What do you think he does?
Here's the deal. He was the number, you could argue 1A or 1B option last year in Carolina. Is that fair?
Yeah, with Greg Olsen, sure.
Yeah, and I don't know that he did a whole lot there. And he had a good quarterback. I mean, Cam Newton's very good. It's not like he had a scrub for a quarterback. So,
like Joe Flacco.
Well, I think we can all agree Cam Newton probably is a better quarterback than Joe Flacco. So, and look, in Baltimore, it's a fact. He's going to be in terms of targets. He's going to be behind Torrey Smith. He is going to be behind Dennis Pitta, as much as you don't want to admit that. So I really struggle to see where his touches are going to come from. I really do. And look, even with Baltimore airing it out last year, it's not like you had superstars in the receiving corps. I mean, you have Torrey Smith, but I don't know anyone in the Dynasty planet that considers Torrey Smith a wide receiver one. Do you?
I would say it depends on your league, but no.
But if you're desperate, yes, okay. But I just don't see it. So no, the short answer to your long question, or the long answer to your short question, no, I don't think he has anything left.
Okay. So a few things here. For as much as Baltimore, quote unquote, aired it out last year, they still finished 8th in attempts in the league. So they're still barely in the top third of the league when it comes to attempts, and they just inherited a guy in Gary Kubiak, who I don't think is going to be nearly as open with the playbook as what they had in the past. Because here's the deal, right? Gary Kubiak loves an athletic quarterback to get him on the edges, rollouts, etc. Joe Flacco can get to the edges if your play action works.
True.
If you are running those like boot actions where there's no action behind it, where it comes to a play action fake, or you're just having him sprint out. First of all, Joe Flacco cannot throw with any accuracy whatsoever on the run. He can't do it. Never has been able to. He can throw it really far, and that's cool. But on the run, I would say he's below average at best. So Gary Kubiak's going to have to alter his offense a little bit, assuming again he can. The other thing is, I'll grant that maybe Pitta gets more attempts than Steve Smith here, and that's fine. But even if he doesn't, I keep on hearing the Anquan Boldin comparison going to San Francisco, and I just don't see that at all. Steve Smith can have an impact for sure in that kind of role that he had with Baltimore, but I think you're talking about a guy with 40 to 50 catches, 600 yards, and he may be a better red zone threat than people think, because even though he's short, his hands might be the strongest in the league outside of Adrian Peterson. His hands are ridiculous. So he could probably actually come down with a few red zone targets, but other than that, man, he's a glorified tight end to me on a team that already has a decent tight end.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't, and it's really too bad because, for many years, I think he was one of the most underrated receivers in the league. Fantasy-wise, real-wise, whatever. So,
yeah.
But hey, hopefully he can, win or, whatever his reasoning is for wanting out. And given it may not be entirely his preference to be out, but it is what it is. So.
I don't think it was, but whatever. And for the record, I love Steve Smith. I hope he never goes away. I hope he's always around. The guy owns Ric Flair robes, for Christ's sake. He's awesome. Keep him in the league forever. And
he knocks people out.
Yes.
Like teammates. He knocks teammates out. So, fantastic. Anyway, who do we got?
I can't believe you make me say names. So, the last guy, I'm going to tag team this, Lorenzo.
I think it was Taliaferro?
That's what I would have pronounced it, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know if it was Taliaferro.
Close enough.
Sure, and I'm an ignorant American, so Yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of high upside here, to be honest. This to me is kind of a handcuff. But do you want to make the awkward segue into domestic violence with Ray Rice and handcuffs? Because I don't.
Sure.
Kind of just did.
It's Friday night.
Like the Ray Rice thing is going to play out. I don't think it's going to play out well. Like that dude should be in jail. He should be in jail. And instead, he got married to shut his wife up, so he couldn't be testified against. The team stood behind him. He came off a year where he looked about 3 steps slower than Maurice Jones-Drew. And then they drafted somebody that is, 6 feet, 6'1", 230, huge guy, who maybe can't do the things out of the backfield Ray Rice can, but can do a lot of the things on the ground. And, I don't know. He's still going to be the third running back there, right?
Yeah, no, I right now that's the role they've got him for. But, yeah, like you said, Ray Rice will be suspended. That is a guarantee. And everything I've seen has been it's going to be 4 games, which is a good chunk of time. So if you've got Taliaferro, who is sort of playing the change of pace third down role behind Bernard Pierce, assuming, and this is a big assumption, assuming Bernard Pierce comes back to normal, you're going to have, I think, some value there, especially in a rookie. And look, and everyone knows this, last year Pierce and Rice both lost a step, seemingly. So it's not crazy to imagine one, if not both of them, out of there next year, the year after, and leaving Taliaferro there by himself. So, I would almost think I might take him over a guy like Terrance West, who we just talked about, quite honestly.
That wouldn't bother me. I think they're at least in the same tier because you have to depend on a lot of things for either one of those guys to play.
Right.
So that wouldn't bother me. I think they're about the same tier, though. I don't think there's really a whole lot of difference in them as far as opportunity for this year and going forward.
Sure. Right. So I think that covered Baltimore. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So moving on to another 8-8 team and your Pittsburgh Steelers, who overall, quite honestly, I really like, and I don't know why. I've always been a homer for them in years past, but this year especially, I think they're going to be very good, and I think they're a team that you can get a lot of value, whether it's in Vegas or in your fantasy drafts or whatever. I think at every position, fantasy-wise, they're going to be pretty good. So I think we've got Shazier first. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ryan Shazier, the top linebacker taken in the NFL draft this year, really came on strong as far as moving up draft boards. I mean, I remember the beginning, I think, of the offseason, it looked like he might be beginning of the second, late first, but, I mean, he just had a ridiculous combine and pro day, and, I mean, he's just fast, man. Like, he is just really fast, and he's going to be able to go sideline to sideline, and they've already penciled him into the Lawrence Timmons role, which is amazing to me. So, I think, I think it's a toss-up between him and Mosley for first linebacker taken in IDP drafts, quite honestly.
That's fine. There's a bit of projection with Shazier. I got to be honest. I mean, I get the fascination with him. He's kind of a little dude, man. Like if you're 6'1", 1/8 at 230, and he needs to put on another 15 to 20 pounds to handle that inside Mike role. And so there's a bit of projection there. I get what's exciting about him. Because he's a good athlete. He's already above average in coverage, I think, and he's got pretty decent instincts when it comes to lining up over a tight end or covering zones and crossing patterns over the middle of the field. I wouldn't be surprised if he missed time this year just because of his size. I worry about people that have to put on that amount of weight that quickly. NFL teams are better at this than we are, obviously. They have plans and they know how to do it, but it always makes me a little nervous. But to your point, I mean, he's in the perfect situation, obviously, linebacker U for the NFL. Like, they know how to develop linebackers, keep them. I mean, it's a perfect situation, and from all accounts, he's a pretty hard worker. I think he'll actually play next to Timmons. I don't think he's going to replace him, that brings up a whole other set of issues, to be honest. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't have a good feel for this kid. Like, I don't know. The prototypical like he's a speed and height guy kind of thing. He's a 4.5 40 at 6'1.5", but to only be like Cam Chancellor's bigger than this guy. I don't know. I would take Mosley ahead of him for sure. But to your point, I don't know that there's another like to me Mosley is tier 1 and Shazier maybe tier 2 all on his own, and just by default.
Interesting. No, by all accounts, I mean, okay, by comparison, last year, Pittsburgh drafted Jarvis Jones in the first round, another linebacker. And he, admittedly struggled last year to sort of, I think, wrap his head around, the speed and the difference of the pro game. And given that by the end of the year, he seemingly had it down and was a starter and is expected to start this year. For me, what I like about Shazier is the fact that they've already given this responsibility to him already. I mean, they didn't do that last year with Jones. They had to sort of tap the brake a little bit. They're throwing Shazier like right out there. And, given, I mean, training camp and preseason is going to tell a lot. But I don't know, man. Like, to me, it's him and Mosley, and I could go either way with them.
That's fine. I would understand it because it's exciting to draft the Pittsburgh linebacker being coached by Dick LeBeau, et cetera, et cetera. Ironically, I'm the upside guy out of us two. I just don't see the upside.
Yeah.
So kind of a roller coaster here. That's kind of funny. But yeah, if he goes in the second round or early third, that's right about where he would be for me, and that'd be fine. That's pretty legit. I have no issue with that.
So not earlier.
No, man. How can you take him the first? How could you do that?
Well, I'm thinking about it. But
you're also the guy that traded a first for Dennis Pitta, so what do you know?
Damn right. Watch out. All right, who's next?
Oh, okay, so upside. This is one of my favorite people in the draft, Martavis Bryant. So if you guys are going to swing for a home run out there, if you're going to swing for the fences this year, and it's going to be at the receiver position, I would ask that you do it at Martavis Bryant. He's just a freak of nature, a physical freak of nature who has pretty decent hands on the routes he's comfortable with. If Pittsburgh is good at recognizing what he's comfortable with early and only lets him do those things early, he may get some good production this season. But going forward, this is a guy that is he has number one potential. I'll just say that. And Roethlisberger's going to give him every chance in the world because they have holes to fill, and he's one of them. You're talking about a guy that has almost 33-inch arms, which is pretty good for a receiver. It runs like a 4.4 40 at 6'4" and 220 pounds. Like he's huge, and a 40-inch vertical. I love the kid. So in an offense that's skewing more towards passing, a team that has an experienced, respectable quarterback, and a guy that likes to just kind of throw it up when he's in trouble. If Bryant takes the chances that's been given in front of him, he could explode.
Yeah, no, we're in agreement on that. I think he's going to be very good. Right now, I think he sits fourth on the depth chart, but look, it won't take long for him to pass Lance Moore on that. So I'm not too worried about that. I think in a perfect world, they would love to have him and Brown on the outside, and maybe Wheaton in the slot.
Yeah.
Or even Wheaton and Bryant on the outside and Brown in the slot, or what have you. The point is, I think Bryant's destined to be the outside option and fill probably that sort of Plaxico Burress role that they used to have, something like that. Because, look, like you said, he's big and he's very linear. So he's very quick. So he can just run right past you, especially in the red zone. So, yeah, I think he's going to be very good. I think he's another guy that he's not viewed as highly as some of these other receivers that are in that middle tier. I mean, you've got a ton of receivers ahead of him that are going to be drafted. Guys like, Allen Robinson are probably going to be drafted ahead of him, or Devontae Adams or anything like that. And I'm not saying Bryant is for sure better than those two guys, but I don't think it's that far off, quite honestly.
The most apt comparison I've seen, and I think it's spot on, and really quick, pour one out for one's homies, but it's Chris Henry. That type of receiver, the linear, long, amazing athlete that makes a spectacular play and might struggle with the average 15-yard in kind of thing.
Right.
But they can coach him up a little bit and get him better at attacking the ball at his highest point, coming across the middle and those intermediate routes. And if they do, the Chris Henry comparison, and Chris Henry, people forget, that dude was on his way to monster seasons in that offense. And I think that's a pretty good comparison, if everything goes right.
Yeah, and the thing that people have to remember, especially this year, is they're going to the no huddle. They're going to be running a ton of plays, and look, they did it towards the end of the season last year, and they ended up being a top 5 offense through the last half of the season. So, yeah, I'm very excited. I could not be happier for everyone on the Pittsburgh offense, quite honestly.
And for him, when you start getting the people that you want to take flyers on in the second or third, because people like to do that at that point, if he went that early, it wouldn't surprise me. I'll look for him in the third or so, but...
Yeah, if I'm in the third round and he's there, I'm all over that.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed.
So maybe the one guy I'm not entirely thrilled about on the offense is our next guy, LeGarrette Blount, who signed as a free agent.
He's awful.
I know. I agree. Believe me, this will be a short discussion. Yeah, I mean, he signed as a free agent. He had a very good, obviously, postseason last year. But look, at the end of the day, he's just a pounder. That's all he does. He can take the ball for a couple carries off Le'Veon Bell, and that's it. You know, I don't think he's a threat on third down. I don't think he's a threat at the goal line. I don't think he's a threat on passing downs. He's a backup. He's a career backup. That's what he is.
If you're trying to talk yourself into somebody because he's going to get carries or the situation is better, like he's going on his third team in 5 years. That's all you need to know.
Right.
I understand running back is a fungible position in the NFL. I get that. But even if a team likes you somewhat, they're going to try and keep you on your rookie contract and keep your costs low and use you. And no team has decided to do that yet.
And he signed for really cheap there. So it's not like New England had to fork over a bunch of money if they wanted to keep him. So
yeah. So
no, we're in agreement. If you have someone in your dynasty league that for some reason is really freaked out and wants to sell on Le'Veon Bell, go for it. Please make that person an offer and try to get him, because I don't think this is going to affect him in the least.
I'd rather have Dre Archer.
Well, I know. Anyway, okay. So rounding out the AFC North, the division winners, which sounds weird to say, the Cincinnati Bengals. Not a lot of skill position players anyway to discuss. So I'll let you take the first one. I know you're a fan. Go for it.
Yeah, Jeremy Hill, man. This is a Stephen Davis clone. Or I would even say a slightly bigger Stephen Davis clone.
Davis, that is old school, my friend.
Right? Yeah, and I heard that from somewhere else. That's not original. I can't remember where I heard it from, but then they said it. I was like, yeah, that's spot on. So get this out of the way again. You have another running back who likes to punch people while they're not looking at him. So there's going to be issues off the field about him. He has immaturities, I'll say, that need to be ironed out, but they possibly will with just being older. Okay, I'm not gonna cast a stone on anyone as a kid that makes a mistake, but the running back situation in Cincinnati. Look, I expect Law Firm to get cut at some point in training camp because there's just no reason not to. Hill is too talented. He's too good at what he does to hold on to the guy who decided he was going to run 3 yards directly into his line and fall down every time he carried the ball. I don't think he cuts into any of Gio Bernard's carries or opportunities because Gio Bernard is too special and he's too diverse in that offense. I actually think this makes them more dynamic because Jeremy Hill, even though being the size he is someone that can break a 40 or 50 yarder by giving 3 stiff arms and a spin move without you even knowing it. So I'm pretty excited about him. He should bring durability to that offense, and he should be what Law Firm they thought they were getting with him over the last 2 years. So. Yeah,
I think he's a perfect example of a high floor guy, but a low ceiling guy. So, look, he's never going to be a featured back. He's never going to be a 3-down guy. He's just not. But to your point, could he be what they envision that sort of secondary running back role to be, yeah, I think they could. I think, him and Bernard, that pairing can last for a couple years and be very effective. And there's several examples of teams using two running backs with different skill sets and using them quite well. Like you said with Stephen Davis, that worked for Carolina in their Super Bowl year. So it's not unreasonable to think, hey, they could eventually, have two guys rushing for about 700, 800 yards.
I actually would disagree with you a little bit. I think he can be an every down back one day. The problem is I don't know that he'll ever get the chance. I mean, he's going to be in Cincy for 5 years or 4, whatever his contract is.
He is. And look, it's very possible, not that I'm wishing this on anyone, but it's very possible, if Bernard suffers a serious injury,
sure.
And they cut GreenEllis, then, hey, it's Jeremy Hill's job. So,
and I think in that situation, he's a top 10 back in the league. That's how highly I think of him. He's awesome.
Interesting. But, So you're looking probably second round to take him.
Yeah, like he's my third running back off the board for me. If I'm drafting a running back and I need one, yeah.
Wow.
Interesting. Well, look, man, you have an offense that doesn't trust their quarterback. You have news.
Yeah, I know.
A coach that wants to play conservatively and run the ball and pound the clock, et cetera, et cetera. Like this guy was drafted with Marvin Lewis in mind, and
and more importantly, I think, right, well, and to that point, they have Hugh Jackson now as offensive coordinator replacing Jay Gruden. Hugh Jackson, worked the two running back system in Oakland to a T. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of things to like about Hill, specifically his situation. So, third running back, for me, it wouldn't be third, but would he be top 5? Yeah, I could see that. And look, if you're looking for a rookie that you want to contribute sooner rather than later, I think Hill is definitely your guy.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's fair. So moving on. So good and bad news if you're a Bengals fan right now. Bad news is we have no one else really to talk about that's worth a damn. But the good news is that's because your team was already so stacked that there was really no one you could have added to make them that much better. So I think they're going to be probably the representative out of the AFC next year. But
interesting, really?
Yeah, I kind of do. Despite Andy Dalton, which is just odd to say. But really quick, so before we get to that, the two people that we're going to talk about are the people backing up Andy Dalton. So you have Jason Campbell. Look, he's just Jason Campbell. Whatever, move on. If you have him in a dynasty league of all formats, you've done something horribly wrong. And then the other person is A.J. McCarron, just because roll tide. Someone's going to want to hear this and hear about A.J. McCarron. I don't think he makes the team. I don't think he has an NFL career.
Do it.
Honestly, man, I think he's out of the league in 2 years. Whatever.
Oh, I'm with you there. Believe me.
Like if you think the Carr brother has an issue handling pressure in his face, like A.J. McCarron, man. Oh, that guy. Like he just freaks out when people get around him.
Well, okay, so, and we've talked about this before. Anytime a quarterback is drafted in the actual NFL draft, people's ears sort of perk up because, it's very difficult to be a good quarterback in the NFL. So any team that drafts one is automatically going to get attention. So I remember, and this is how sad this is. I remember the moment McCarron got drafted by Cincinnati because it was a big deal. It was like, oh God, they drafted A.J. McCarron finally. He's off the board. Well, it was the 5th round, and I think it was the end of the 5th round, almost the 6th. So, it's just it is what it is. I think we're in agreement. If you're drafting A.J. McCarron in your dynasty rookie draft, then you need to start over.
Do you buy into the theory that he was drafted just to build the confidence of Drake Kirkpatrick in training so he can save his career?
No, only because I think Mike Brown is too cheap.
That's fair. Mike Brown's not going to spend that $800,000 to save Drake Kirkpatrick.
Now, by comparison, the only other owner/GM in the NFL, one Jerry Jones. Do I think Jerry Jones would do that? Yeah, I do. All day. All day.
What quarterback out there could build the confidence of Maurice Claiborne the best Jerry, that's AJ. You need to go get AJ.
Yeah. Mettenberger. It's got to be Mettenberger.
Could have been.
So,
yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
yeah. So, but like you said, look, Cincinnati, at least from the skill position angle, they're pretty set. I mean, they've got a top 5 dynasty running back in Bernard. They got a top 5 receiver in AJ Green. So far they've got closer to a top 10 tight end in Eifert, who,
yes,
is good, and he had a lot of hype last year. I remember it. I think our dynasty league, he went top 5.
Oh, he's going to be awesome. I think he will.
Okay, so we could talk about this then. He might be, and I'm not doubting his talent. What I'm doubting is, why is Jermaine Gresham still around? That I don't get. Unless they're just wanting to go 2 tight end sets all day. Okay. Yep. But that's what I don't understand. And that's the thing holding at least me back from viewing Eifert as a real asset. Because right now, I really don't. I truly don't.
I mean, so look, there's plenty of teams, though, that are drafting tight ends high that already have an established starter, if not star. That's the thing, man. So the Lions just drafted Ebron, and yet they re-signed Pettigrew. The Niners had Vernon Davis, re-upped him last year, and still drafted Vance McDonald in the 2nd round. I could go on and on with this. Tight end is no longer this position that is, we need a blocking tight end and a move tight end. You're going to catch passes, etc. They're viewed as these, what I would call a stretch 4 in the NBA, a guy that can kind of do anything. And that's kind of how they're viewed now. The existence, as putrid as it may be, of Jermaine Gresham on a football team does not affect Tyler Eifert to me. It's just not something. If anything, it affects Mohamed Sanu.
I think Sanu is done. Personally, I don't think he's going to be. Well, okay. I think he's done from a dynasty perspective. I don't think people should be drafting him or picking him up with hopes of him becoming a wide receiver 2 someday. Okay,
he'll constantly get dropped and redrafted every year in dynasty leagues. I
think we're all in agreement. Marvin Jones has sufficiently passed him on that depth chart. So, if anything, Sanu might be the 5th option in that passing game, behind Green, behind Jones, behind Eifert, and behind Bernard. So
probably. So. But I think Eifert is special, and it's just an opportunity. It depends if the quarterback gives him the chances, and if the offense gives him the chances. But, I think Eifert is really, really special. I just don't trust Dalton to get the ball to him in the situations he needs to get it. I think Dalton is going to they talk about this cliche of a tight end being a quarterback's best friend. Andy Dalton's best friend is just throw it up to AJ and just see what happens. There's never the thought of where's my safety blanket in a tight end or where's my safety blanket in a running back in the backfield. It's just where's AJ Green in the 10-yard hitch? Cool, I'm going to throw it 7 yards. That's all it is for him. It's just nuts, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, that is definitely a situation to watch next year as far as the quarterback situation goes. But well, I think that wrapped it up, right?
It did for me. I don't want to talk about these teams anymore.
Yeah, the AFC North is always they're the ugly teams. If that makes sense. They're just nothing.
They're just so regional, man. Besides the Steelers, it's just so regional.
Well, and there's just nothing. I mean, they're good. There's just nothing sexy about them at all. But hey, it's what we do. So anyway, so that wraps up, I think, this episode. Again, you can always find us at dynastyfantasyfootballcentral.com or find us at Twitter at dynasty_FFC. So with that in mind, Jonathan, do you have anything else?
No, be careful, people. It's Friday night. LeBron James is going home. That means I want all of you to go home, too, safely.
Safely, that's the important thing. Until next time.